So let's talk about the next properties. So now we are moving from lines and angles to triangles basics and inequality theorem. So we know the angle sum theorem that interior angles of this triangle sum up to 180 degree. Okay. And there are classifications like equilateral, isosceles, and scalene triangle. And then an important triangle inequality theorem is there, which says that sum of any two sides must be greater than the third side. Okay. So here is an example. Can a triangle have a side of 3, 4, and 8? The answer is going to be no, because when you sum 3 plus 4, that's going to be equal to 7, right? So when you take this 3 plus 4 and you sum them up, you add them up, that is going to be equal to 7, and that is not greater than, right? That is not greater than 8, right? So this property is violated, and that's why you will not have this kind of, you cannot have a triangle which will have this side 3, 4, and 8 units. Okay, so that's the triangle inequality theorem. And this is for all the three sides, A, B, C, doesn't matter which sequence you do. The idea is sum of the two side has to be greater than the third. We know that the sum of two sides has to be always greater than the third side for any triangle. That's the property. So A plus B is greater than C, B plus C is greater than A, C plus A is greater than B. If the triangle has three sides A, B, and C. Good, good. Okay, so let's go through this, right? The triangle inequality theorem, right? So the theorem that we are going to be using is, this theorem where A plus B is going to be greater than C. Okay, so 8 plus 15 has to be greater than X, or X has to be greater than 23 has to be greater than X, right? So the side, is there. And then second thing is 8 plus X has to be greater than 15. So X has to be greater than 7. So X has to lie between 7 and 23. That's the actual derivation. But in the problem that is given to you, if you look into this problem, the problem that is given to you, this 3 lies in that range. And so 24. But you can check, right? 8 plus 15 is 23. Since 24 is greater than this, you can find that answer directly. Okay. But one thing that I want to mention that you should see, and why I have listed this inequalities here, there is a specific reason. Okay, so let me just explain this, why I've done this. We know that the third size has to be less than this, right? 18 plus 5 plus 5, right? So this 2 sums up to 23, and we know that the third side has to be less than this. So we know that immediately that this one is not going to be of the length of the third side. This could be a possibility, but this definitely is not a possibility. And that's our right answer, because that's the case. We solved it. Now this is a medium problem, medium hardness problem, because you needed to remember the triangle inequality theorem. However, as you see, the actual way to formulate this problem is, or actual way to solve this problem is using this equation. So you have this property is going to be satisfied by three different inequalities, right? We know that this is the property that is going to be satisfied. This is also satisfied. So from there, we got this inequality. So a harder version of this problem could be given in this format. So let me, explain that format where if you go back here, these equations that are written here, they are not given in the dimensions, but the choices that you might have is something like this. 7 is X is greater than 7, 23. So that might be one choice. One choice might be 3 is greater than X minus 15. And similarly, another inequality. So rather than having these sides, you might have 4 inequalities that is given to you. And that will be a harder version. It's exactly the same problem, but now it's a harder version because you cannot use just this judgment to quickly solve it. You have to actually go through all the inequality and formulate this inequality equation to solve this overall problem, right? So you may expect an inequality version of this problem also, but that will be a harder version of the same problem, because now you are formulating not in just 8 plus 15, but you're going through this, because this is one, right? We know that three things has to happen, right? 8 and 15 are given. The third one is x, right? Those are the three sides. We know that 8 plus 15, sorry, 8 plus 15. 8 plus 15 has to be greater than x. That's one. We know that 8 plus x has to be greater than 15. Okay. And then 15 plus x also has to be greater than 8. Okay. So these are when we give this statement this side, these are the three inequalities that is there. But from each of these three inequalities, you can formulate and you can get the final converted inequality. That's the main thing that you need to derive. And this might be one of the choices among the four choices in multiple choice. And that will be a harder version of the same problem. But this is, more involved. That's why it's a harder version of the same problem. So I just wanted to mention this so that if you see inequality, you know, hey, you have already know the same thing. You have to use the property and you can solve the same problem. It just takes a little bit more time.